Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for another video here on Growing with the Roses. We are a homesteading vlog that focuses on homesteading for beginners. We are just now starting out and we're documenting our journey. We are working towards self-sufficiency, a more sustainable lifestyle, and really wanting to enjoy nature and create beauty around us. So join us, hit subscribe if you haven't already, because every Thursday we post new videos to show a new project that we're doing or show you the farm, the animals. So we're so happy to have you along as part of the ride. I am Abby Rose, and I live with my husband Dannon Rose and my 6-month-old baby Miriam Rose. And today what I wanted to do is I wanted to tell you a little bit more about ourselves, and I also wanted to tell you more about our why. So for me, I grew up on a self-sufficient farm in the Ozark Mountains, so that's where I spent the majority of my childhood. It was a very rural location, over 2 miles down a dirt road. We did not go to town very often because it was so rural, and we didn't actually have to because we grew a lot of our own food. We had a very large garden. We had Jersey cows. Well, they're gone. They were behind me, but anyway, we have Jersey cows. It's chickens, free-range chickens, pigs. We actually trapped wild pigs at one time. That's a whole nother story for a different day. What else? We had goats at some point and rabbits. We did have dogs and cats. And the only reason I mention them is because, yes, they were pets, but they also served a purpose because everything on our farm did. Unlike Dana and I, we have snuggle dogs now that don't really serve a purpose except to give us love. Anyway, though, so we milked Jersey cows. We created cheese and butter from their milk. We had steers and always had our own meat that we sent off to process. We never processed steers, though I did process a pig before. So almost all of our own food we grew there on our farm. And that's something I'm trying to replicate here. I have not gotten quite so far here on this farm. We still need to build my garden. Again, we only moved here in January and it is currently September. So all part of the process. We've been building the house or finishing the house. Though I'm jumping ahead of myself. So in high school, I did not actually plan to live on a homestead. You know, I did very well academically, and everybody was like, oh my goodness, you need to move away from your small town, you know, get a big job, like move up in the corporate world. And I tried that, so I went to Vanderbilt University, and when I graduated, I moved to Portland, Oregon, but I was actually only there for about 4 or 5 months before I started to miss home, and I started to miss the Ozark Mountains. So, but mostly home and family. That was my biggest reasons. My 2 sisters, they both have daughters, and I did not want to be the aunt that only showed up for special occasions. I really wanted to be there for them, and that was a big driving force in me deciding to move back home. When I did move back home, I landed a job at UL. It's a product safety and compliance company, and that is where I met my husband, Dannon Rose. So Dannon Rose, he is born and raised here in Southwest Missouri. We live currently on the farm he was raised on, so we are the 3rd generation on this farm. His grandmother moved here, so she lost her husband when some of her kids were pretty young, including Dannon's mama, and she packed up her kids and her life and drove and found a farm to buy. She was from Chicago, so she was actually a city girl, and she had the tenacity to look around and decide to start a whole new life. So she started her new life here on this farm in Southwest Missouri, and that's where she grew her family. And then later, Dannon's mama and her husband, his daddy of course, bought the farm from her mother, and they became the 2nd generation that lived there, and they grew their family here on this farm. And now Dana and I have just recently bought the back half of his parents' farm. They still live right up the road, but we bought the back 80 acres and have built our house here. So right now I'm sitting on the balcony of our house. We still need to finish the railings. Miriam can't walk yet. Before she does, we are definitely going to put a lot more railings up. But anyway, this is a great place to hang out still, and we'll put railings up very soon. It's one of those projects. We have way too many. So anyway, Dannon and I, we met at work. I did have to do the pursuing because he was a manager, and so we had to keep it appropriate like that. Fortunately, he did return my interest. Our first date was at Crystal Bridges Museum in Northwest Arkansas. Beautiful spot. That's also where we took our engagement photos. My sister took those and they're beautiful. And we love traveling. We traveled to Colorado together. Dannon is actually an elk hunter, so he goes out to Colorado during elk season every year. He has for the last few years. We're planning a trip here very soon in October. And so he proposed to me out in Colorado, actually. So we met in May 2019. He proposed in September of 2020. So we had been together it was 2020. So about a year and a half that we'd been together, and then we got married June 2021. The wedding was wonderful. His parents actually just built a new house here at their farm, so they spent most of their life raising their kids in the old farmhouse that was over 100 years old, and they just recently were able to build their new dream home. So we got married there before they moved in. They finished the house just a month or so before the wedding. One of my most special memories about our wedding was helping Katie, Dannon's mama, build some flower beds around their house. So it's wonderful now to see those all growing big and healthy, and be reminded of the wedding, because we did all that landscaping together kind of in a rush because they're like, oh, we got to fix it up for the wedding. So that was really special. And we had the wedding here because we had already hoped at that time that we might buy part of the land from them. When I first met Dannon, he lived in the second house that he had built. So his dad and his granddad and him are all great builders. They've built everything from, his granddaddy, Papa, has built bridges. Him and his dad built multiple homes, shops, all kinds of things, you name it. So he has been wonderful. He built our home, or we built it together, but he was definitely the brains behind it. And so that's been really, really valuable to have his knowledge and expertise in building. We've been able to afford to buy this land from his parents in this house because, you know, he built a smaller house and spent less because he did a lot himself, and then he sold that, and then he bought a bigger piece of land, built a bigger house, and that's where we lived together for a while. And then we sold that, and we went and rented from his parents actually for a while. We bought this land in January 2022, and at first it was kind of slow. It was winter, so we couldn't get the dirt work done, so we just picked up some things. It wasn't until about May or June of 2022 that we got the road built, that we got the water and electricity put in. We did put the electricity underground because we didn't want the power lines overhead. So we did all of that in, well, it was probably only a couple weeks, and then we started the building. So we dug the footing, we filled up the gravel, poured the concrete, all of those different steps to get the pad built, and then we framed the whole house. It was about that time that I figured out that I was pregnant with Miriam, which meant I was a terrible worker because I felt sick almost all the time. But we kept building, and by December of 2022, it was livable. So we moved in. I was really set on moving into this house before the new year. So we moved in on New Year's Eve. It was the first time I stayed up late on a New Year's Eve in a while. We stayed up in like till 2 a.m. moving everything in. Definitely a different type of party than I've ever done before for New Year's Eve. So we moved in. It was actually, the outside wasn't even done yet. We didn't have bricks on it. It wasn't until about May of this year that the bricks have gotten done, and we have slowly finished more projects. Like this deck, it wasn't built until August of this year. We had to take some time off working on some projects this year because my daddy has MDS. It's a type of bone marrow cancer, and he had to get a bone marrow transplant, and my husband and I and Miriam lived in Little Rock to take care of him. Made the best of it. We lived in our RV and enjoyed a campsite there, so it was okay, and I was happy to help him out, but it did slow things down on the farm. We are back, and we're hopefully back for good. Hopefully my dad lives right beside us now, and hopefully he's gonna stay healthy and we don't have to go back to the hospital. And so now we can really buckle down on all these projects. Last weekend we worked on the barn. The weekend before that we worked on the shed, and we just got some more, like we just got the septic covered, all kinds of things have just now gotten done. But we are really thankful for how we're moving forward. Okay, so this video is getting way too long. Let's cut to my whys. All right, so we had to move inside because it started to rain, and I got Miri Bug. Hi, Miri. She's at her office. She says, I'm busy learning all kinds of stuff. Okay, so for the final part of this video, let's talk about why we decided to homestead. The number one reason we decided to was for family. So we want our little baby Miriam to grow up with fields to run and play in, woods to create forts in. You know, those are things I enjoyed going up doing when I grew up, and it was also something Dan enjoyed doing, and we want to give that to Miriam. So that's a big thing. Miriam, you want to be part of the video. So the second reason was for our health. I think it's no secret that the food agriculture system here in the U.S. is pretty broken. You know, it's hard to find any foods that don't have ingredients in it that you can't read, that haven't been grown with all kinds of pesticides. And so for our health, it would be the best that we eat what we grow. You know, when we eat our own meat, it does not have any antibiotics in it. Our calves do not have really any medicines, any growth hormones. None of that's given to them. So that's the second reason, is health. Garden produce will be a huge thing to help with our health, that we definitely want to do. The next reason is for self-sufficiency. So we do not want to have to depend on anyone else to have the food that we need to survive. You know, there's something empowering looking in your fridge or in your pantry shelves, in your deep fridge, and seeing food that you put there, and having kind of that guarantee that you're going to keep putting food there no matter what. So self-sufficiency is a big reason for us. Next is sustainability. For sustainability, that's been a big concern of mine. I love nature, I love the earth, I love the environment, and I really want to live a more sustainable lifestyle. We're slowly making the shifts, you know, trying to not use single-use products. A big place you get single-use products is in the grocery store. So everything comes wrapped in plastic, and if you can grow those things yourself, you don't have the plastic. Also, you know, a lot of farmers with big croplands have to use pesticides to keep up with demand. You know, they have no other option. And they also have to use lots and lots of fertilizer to get a big enough profit margin. And all that fertilizer and pesticides, that gets into our environment, that gets into the water, that gets into the land, and it's not good for it. Some fertilizer would be good, but having too much nitrogen in the waterways and what that does with algae, there's lots of research on this. So for sustainability, small scale is a lot better. And so that's a big thing for us. We're really working to be more sustainable and easier on the environment. We're not perfect. Nobody is, and I think the worst thing you can do is try to be perfect and then you stop. But we are trying to move in that direction, and that's a big factor in why we decided to homestead. The next thing is the love of nature. Nature is just so beautiful. We love being with the animals, with plants. We love cultivating plants. Well, I do. I say we. Gannon likes it too, but that's definitely my part of the hobby, or what I love. I love growing gardens. I love creating landscapes. All of the things with plants is something that just really gives me so much joy. And so that is a big part of also why I wanted to homestead. And lastly, we just wanted permanence. We wanted to start something that is forever. It's for our family and our future. So hopefully this has inspired you to maybe think about starting your own homestead. If you have any questions for me, if there's anything I didn't address, please leave your comments below. Again, subscribe to our channel. I will be putting out content every Thursday, different DIY projects. As soon as my garden gets going a lot, I'll be putting in some recipes. We'll talk about all things farm animals. So yes, we would love to have you join along. Thank you.